All right, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to model walls, or how I am usually modeling walls in 3ds Max. All right. So this was the floor plan that we cleaned. I'm going to share this file on a cloud link in the description so you can download it. It's going to be cleaned already. So you can download it and actually use it and model with me. Right. So I'm just going to minimize AutoCAD. I'm going to maximize my max. And very important, I'm just going to new to all. I'm going to put the grid on and go to perspective mode. So letter P. So very important, please, for this video, if you can, try to use centimeters in the display and use system units in centimeters as well for this tutorial, please. Okay. So all right, so instantly what we can do is we can import the drawing. So we have to go file, import, merge. And we're going to choose all files here because by default it's going to be max. So all files, we're going to choose the house type, ground floor, clean. So it was clean already. We choose millimeters here because that file came from millimeters. Keep the rescale on. So yes, I understand we are working in centimeters, but we are importing this file as in the millimeters. All right. So press OK. That is our file, and as you can remember, we did put this drawing into 0, axis, right? So very important, I'm gonna go to the top view. I'm gonna disable the grid by pressing letter G, and I'm gonna select one spline. Any spline, doesn't matter, because these parts are separate, right? So I'm gonna select one spline, and I'm gonna go to editable spline and attach multiple. And I'm gonna literally select only the display shape. So deselect everything and select only the shapes. Control A, attach, bam. All right, so that was very quick. And as we can see, we're still in 0, axis. So what we're gonna do now is just move a little bit and see. As you can see, we have some geometry in the scene. So how can you delete that? Either you select your collapse drawing and press Ctrl I, so we're inverting the selection and deleting everything around you, right? Which is the best way to do it. Or if you know that you have any geometry, you can select geometry and press Ctrl A. And when I press Ctrl A, you can see here on the bottom 82 objects selected. So I can then press delete. But the best case scenario is Ctrl I, so you're basically inverting the selection and delete, right? So we already deleted everything around, we only have this one, and the best case scenario would be to rename your drawing, right? So CAD_GF, rename it any way you want, but you know, for this tutorial, I'm going to rename it like that. So if you have any convention working with floor plans and, you know, ground floor, first floor, second floor, you need to match it somewhat, share with your teammates, etc. You know, you can leave it at 0, axis if you have some kind of a like a 0, origin that is very important. But for this very small drawing and house type, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna put here 0 tab 0 tab enter, right? So this drawing is gonna be somewhere in the middle of my origin, right? So somewhere there, doesn't really matter, right? So the next step for you to do is use the snap tool, right? So just use the vertex here, right? So if you right click here with the mouse, just choose vertex, that's it. All right, the next thing is you would please enable axis gizmo constraints. All right, so if you click on an empty tab, I don't have an empty tab here, but if you have an empty room space here or empty space there, you can, you know, click somewhere on here and you can enable axis constraints. All right, or you can click it somewhere there. So if I'm gonna disable where is it, axis constraints, there we go. So if I'm gonna disable it, it's not gonna be there. If I'm gonna enable it again, axis constraints, there we go, it's gonna pop it there. You can, you know, you can drag it and drop it anywhere you like, right? All right, so and please activate the enable axis constraints snaps toggle, and this will change accordingly where you're gonna be moving, right? But just enable this button here, right? So I know that a lot of people are using splines, but I wouldn't recommend using splines because that is not a very tidy way to work, especially with walls, right? So we're going to be using the technique that I'm going to be showing you is going to be more or less poly modeling, right? But I'm going to show you the easy way how to do it, right? All right, so we have our snapping enabled. We have our S letter. So if you press S letter, you're gonna be enabling and disabling the snap tool, right? So as you can see, the bubble is snap. If I press S again and disable it, I'm not gonna snap to anything, right? So the next thing we're gonna do is literally right click on the drawing. This is very important. Object properties, renderable off, right? So this file is not gonna be renderable because usually the materials, you can do this if you want to. This is perfectly fine. So for example, from now on, I'm gonna be working with Corona. So for example, I'm just gonna put legacy material and just apply on it, right? But because we already right clicked on it, object properties, and press renderable, the render engine is not going to even consider this rendering, right? Because sometimes CAD plans come with Arch materials, etc., etc. So it's just literally, it's very useful to make this AutoCAD dead in the scene in the way. So I call it dead. So literally nothing is going to be, evaluating this drawing in any way, right? It's not renderable. It has a Corona material, which is perfectly fine. Doesn't have any other, other materials from other software. So, all right. So this is a clean drawing right now, right? So we're gonna start modeling this in poly modeling. So we're gonna use plane. We're gonna use 1, 1. By default, it's usually 4, 4, but just right click on there or just put 1, 1 manually, right? And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna drag this and we're gonna enable edges. So we will see the edges. So we're gonna press F4 and we're gonna literally press S. You can see that I'm gonna be changing the bubble, and you can drag on the, if you drag here, it's gonna enable the snapping everywhere. As you can see, X, Y. And I'm in the top view, as you can see here. So press letter T. So obviously I would be doing this a lot faster, but because this is a tutorial, I'm gonna try to, keep it as slow as I can. So basically, if you're gonna move here, this will change. So you can snap it like this, as you can see, right? If you snap it on the corner. But if you're gonna move it into the X, this is gonna show only the X. So if I'm gonna snap there, it's only gonna move into the X. So this is quite useful. Just if you want to reactivate, as you can see, I'm reactivating the letters, right? Sorry, the axis. So X, Y, and obviously Z would be if I would go up, but we're not gonna be going up now. So enable the XY and just use the S and snap it to, for example, I would concentrate, because this is an internal, not external, concentrate on the internal walls, right? So this is going to be the plastering board. So this is going to be the edge of your walls, right? So literally that is it. That is your start. The next thing you need to do is right click there, editable poly. All right. So we're going to click 2. So 1 on the keyboard, if you press 1, is going to be vertex, 2 for edge, 3 for border, 4 for polygon, and 5 for element, right? But we're only going to be concentrating here on the edge, right? So we're going to press edge, and we're going to select this edge here. We're going to move it there and snap it, right? I'm literally just grabbing the edge and moving the x-axis and snapping to there, right? I'm going to select that and that. Snap it to that vertex there, because we have the snapping on the vertex, right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna quickly show you how I do it, right? So you press shift, you hold shift, you drag it, and you can release shift. So basically the shift is activating the, the extrusion basically. So you select this edge and you snap it here as well, right? So this is how you shift, snap it, bam, right? Shift, release, right? Shift, release, shift, release. You select the spline here. You can shift, right? Zoom in a little bit, and everything is gonna be straight and in perfect quads, right? Bam, 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 bam. Right? So you can go anywhere you wanna go. So that is fine. So you just have to mind one thing. So you have to imagine how this can, you know, be a quad, 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 right? So sometimes there's like tricky situations, but you know, with the spline you would just forget about it and you would track it, but you with splines you will never get quads. After that, if editing, it's going to be a little bit harder, and I'm going to show you that later on. So shift, snap it to that point, shift, snap it to that point, and select this, guys, with control, and shift, snap it to that guy, right? So perfect quads everywhere. So shift, can disable the snapping for now. So enable with an S, snap it, right? Snap it to here. And this is gonna be a very, a little bit of a tricky situation, but I will show how I will do it. So I'm gonna snap it there, snap it to there, because that's going to be the frame of the door. So that is how they indicate that, right? Snap it to there. It doesn't have to be, you know, millimeter to millimeter precise. This is a CGI. This is not a plan that they're going to build upon, right? So it's just, you know, as long as it's, you know, in a correct manner, it should be fine. So snap it to there. That's the door. Snap it to there. Snap it there, right? Snap it there, there, there. So I'm gonna quickly show you how I do it. So snap it somewhere there, snap it somewhere there, so you would, you know, keep it in bound. So I'm gonna show you very quickly another option. So for example, as you can see, this is lower, this is higher. So just go to 1, which is the vertices, and just, you can go to, you know, edges if you want to, and just raise this up a little bit. So having these, you know, this vertex is a little bit higher than this one, is perfectly fine. You still have a quad, which is amazing. So go to 2 and just drag and drop there, snap it to there. And the next thing I want to do is, I'm not gonna snap anywhere here because it's a little bit unprecise, but to make it, you know, perfectly fine, just isolate the drawing, which is Alt Q, right? And I'm just gonna shift drag it to there, and gonna select this edge and press bridge, bam. All right, this is perfectly straight. I know that it's straight because I didn't, you know, trace it with the spline, right? So I know that this edge and these vertices are completely straight to that edge, right? So I have 100% sure about it, right? All right, so the next thing we can do is we're gonna extend this guy to there, right? Obviously, to understand how these windows are going, because this is an entrance, we would need to look into the elevations, or at least sections if they're quite specific. So I'm gonna shift drag it there. I'm gonna go with my vertex, snap it there. I'm gonna go with this, right? And as you can see, I'm changing 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and I'm keep snapping things and, you know, making them straight, right? So now this is very important because we don't really, you know, this is a very dodgy line. We cannot really snap it anywhere, right? So this is why I sometimes say that sometimes you will get CADs that are a little bit untidy in a way, right? Or you accidentally delete a line or whatever, right? So isolate the drawing, Alt Q, and I have a shortcut Q, which you press Q, it goes back out of the isolation. The default is Alt Q, and then you press this button here. As you can see, isolate selection, right? So you press this button here. This is a manual thing. I'm not going to show you how to create a shortcut, but you know, you can go customize, and there's somewhere customize hotkey editor. There you go. Sorry, and you find here end and isolate. There you go. So as you can see here, you literally select this guy, you press Q, and you press assign, and done. That's it, and you're gonna literally have that, you know, bind. So what I'm gonna do now is literally just make sure that this line matches that, and shift, I'm dragging and I'm matching, snapping to this vertex, right? So I know now for sure that this wall is perfect, in a perfect alignment. And for this guy, doesn't really matter because, you know, we have a distance here, we have a distance there. So I'm just gonna keep clicking the shift. So I'm just gonna snap it to there because the wall is, you know, thicker. And actually these walls, so the wall here and the wall there should match the same, right? So as you can see, this wall is in the same, you know, alignment. So I'm gonna just go to my edge again, and shift, drag it, snap it, shift, drag it, snap it, shift, drag it, snap it somewhere there. So shift, drag it, snap it. So this is gonna be a fireplace, but you know, don't worry about the fireplace now. We're just gonna go straight because the fireplace is gonna be inserted into a wall, right? So we don't really need to worry about that now. So above the fireplace, the wall is gonna be straight. It's gonna be like this. But the fireplace is only gonna be on the ground, right? So it's gonna be maybe be a meter of a height, right, of a fireplace. And you know, we can cut that out later on. That's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna put shift again, snap it, shift again, snap it, shift, and I'm snapping to that wall, shift, snapping to there, because there's some kind of a kitchen, you know, panel there. So I'm gonna snap it to there, snap it to there, snap it to there, and I'm gonna snap it to there somewhere. Gonna snap it. There is no, you know, right or wrong. Where are you going? It's just, you know, you need to fill all the walls, right? So for example, you join the walls like this, right? You join it here. What else you can do is press 1, select these vertices and press weld, right? So if you select a vertex now, it's going to be one welded vertex. Now go to 2, so to the edge, and we can start, you know, extruding more. So let's just extrude to there, extrude to there, extrude to somewhere there, because that is the wall. Extrude it there, and we can extrude it to maybe not there. Let's try to extrude it to there, because that's a door niche. Extrude it there, and same thing, we're extruding there, putting there, there, and now we're gonna pull it there. So control is to select more, with shift you're deselecting, right? So now, very important, if you meet something like this, right? So these walls has to match perfectly, right? So what we do next, just to double check, is we're pressing 1, which is the vertex, and matching that, and we're pressing 1 and matching the vertex there, right? So go to the edge again, or press 2 or 1, doesn't matter, Q, so I'm exit isolation. So the next thing, obviously, I'm continuing modeling my walls. Bam, bam. And now this is very important, right? So this wall is longer, so I'm not gonna select all the vertices there, but this wall is a little bit shorter, so I'm gonna isolate again, zoom out, vertex, and I'm just gonna, you know, match these vertices perfectly. So I know that these walls are completely flat and correct. All right, so there we go. So let's continue working on this guy. So with this one, you know, you can do this, but then you're gonna end up with more, you know, you can do that. That's perfectly fine. But what I would do is I would select this guy and just move it there and just extend here, 1, and just, you know, do it like this. So shift, drag, bam. All right. So we have some walls there as well. So I'm gonna select this, shift, drag there, shift, drag there, right? So we can do the same thing here. We can do this, right, and match it to maybe this area right here. And to match this wall to the right wall, we just do the same thing. We select vertices and just double checking. Literally what we're doing is we're double checking. So edge, snap it, double check as well. So I know that this is correct, but just, you know, select the vertices and double check, right? Bam. All right, so this is fine. If you go from one wall through the door niche and then continuing, you don't need to check. It's gonna be fine. But let's just say you stop there and then you start from the other side and you meet here. always try to check that those walls perfectly align, because you will never have any issues in the future with it. Because sometimes one wall is going to be a little bit further, some wall is going to be a little bit closer. It really, you know, it can screw up your pipeline. So I'm just going to go like this, like that. We're almost there. So as you can see, I met there. So because this wall is a little bit, you know, longer, I'm just going to select those, and I'm going to select that. Don't really need to select that, because that's an external wall. There you go. So those work perfectly fine. And with this guy now is very simple. We just can move it there and just double check that it's in the straight line. You can always double check, right? You can always, if you know, are not completely sure, you can select these edges and, you know, just try to match them there. When selecting edges, sorry, when selecting vertices or edges, you know, try to disable with S the snapping tool, because sometimes it's, you know, playing games. So select all of these vertices and just press weld, right? So the weld value is 0.1 centimeters, so it's perfectly fine. All right, so let's see what we have now. So we have the walls there, the walls there. So the staircase will have a little bit of a wall there, but we're not going to be concentrating on the staircase in this tutorial, all right? So I'm going to show you just how I usually do it, right? So this could have done, I usually just shut my brain off when I do this, because I've been doing this for so long. And the next thing what you do is you see where the window's at, right? So what you do is you select the edges, delete, 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 delete the doors, right? Doors, delete, doors, doors, right? Windows, windows, right? And that's, we're leaving. That's gonna be the fireplace, right? So as you can see, we have modeled all the walls. And the next thing what we should do is to working out the windows, right, on the plan. But I'm not going to be showing you now how to model a house, you know, how to measure things in AutoCAD, because this tutorial it would be longer, right? But I'm going to show you how to, you know, roughly work out and shell the drawing, right? So for example, so now I have this. Let me just center this. So I have my ground floor roughly, right? The next thing I'm gonna do is, I know that the floor is gonna be on the zero Z axis, right? So this is gonna be the 0. So if I check the vertex, you can see on the Z I am at 0, which that's how it should be, right? So the next thing you do is, I know for a fact that all the doors cutouts are usually 2100, so 2100 millimeters, so, or 210 centimeters, right? So what I usually do is I press shell, and I'm gonna put 210, bam, right? So this is literally my doors. All right, so these are gonna be my doors. The next thing I do, I apply editable poly. You can add that, you know, I have shortcuts for the modifiers, but you can also, you know, apply shell from here and apply editable poly from here, right? The next thing you want to do, you select polygon, go to the front view. I'm going to disable grid, and I'm going to select all the top vertices. And I know for a fact that, you know, this is a standard house type. The ceiling is not going to be 3 meters or 350, right? No way. Most of the times is like 250. Okay, it's like 250, 270, 240 sometimes, right? So I'm just gonna go with 250 because it's just an easier number, right? So I have 210. So how much do I need to reach the 250 ceiling height, right? So I need what? 40 centimeters. So I'm gonna go now extrude. I'm gonna go 40 and press OK. So now I have my door niche and I have my ceiling. That's the ceiling top, right? So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be selecting these guys in polygon mode, right? Now this is very important because sometimes this doesn't work all the time. It really depends. I'm not sure, was it a bug with Max? I was using 18, but sometimes when you select you know, multiple polygons and you try to bridge them, they mess up. But let's just try to select multiple here and just try to bridge them. And as you can see, this worked fine, this worked fine, this worked fine, this didn't work. All right. This is, I don't know why Max is acting like that, but literally what you can do is deselect those and try to bridge those, right? So as you can see, nothing is intersecting, right? So for some reason, Max didn't really like this topology here. We can do it manually, right? Let's try to do in like this for now. Let's see how that's gonna handle. So that is perfectly fine. You can select multiple. It should work correctly, but you know, we don't have 1000 doors, right? So bridge, and that's another bridge here. And usually all the windows are gonna be on 210 height, right? We did measure that in the previous tutorial, but just for this tutorial, we're gonna do like this, right? So I know that this house is gonna have an arch here, but we're not gonna cover that now, right? So as you can see, we have a couple more left. So let me select this with control, bridge. As you can see, it didn't work. So we're just gonna select one for now. And bridge, there we go. So we have all the door tops, you know, collapsed in a way, bridge, sorry. So the next thing we wanna do is, you know, how would you, because this house type, I know 100% sure that all the window sills or the bottom of the windows are not exactly all the same. So for example, you know, that window, for example, this is a kitchen window, right? So the window will be at, I don't know, 110, right? Or 105, okay? Because the kitchen countertop or worktop is going to be at 900. So it's going to be 90 centimeters high. I know that for a fact. 90 plus 10 centimeters of a splashback. So we need to work out from the drawings, but for this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you, you know, this in a very simple way. So what you usually do, you can select, right? You can literally try to slice it if you want to. So if I'm going to select edge, right? And if I slice it, I can slice it somewhere there, right? Everywhere. But I don't really need to do that because this is a poly modeling. I don't need extra polys, right? So what I can do with this guy is then deselect this guy and select this edge, these two edges. So F3, select these edges and press connect. And let's just say I want to move them at the moment. They are, let me just click. They are at 105. I know that these are going to be like living rooms or etc, right? So usually the window sills, the window bottoms are lower. So what if we could put, I don't know, 70, right? You can also do this. You can draw a box at 70. You can draw a box at 70. And if you go to your drawing, press the 2 key, edges, you can snap it to the 70 here, right? You can always, don't be afraid using dummies. Like I use a lot of dummies in my scenes, boxes, whatnot, right? Because this is just useful to use, right? You need to use dummies. So I'm just gonna bridge that. I'm gonna bridge that, right? So this is perfectly fine. Now I'm gonna go here. So this is gonna be a sliding door or a folding door, sorry, not a sliding door. So I'm gonna do here a little bit higher, right? So I'm gonna do maybe, I don't know, maybe 90 centimeters, right? And I'm gonna bridge it. Obviously you would have to check elevations, all right? Just don't forget that. And for the kitchen, I'm gonna use 105. I think that's perfect because the kitchen top is gonna be at 90, right? Usually it's gonna be at 90, and then I'm gonna have another, use the auto grid, and then I'm gonna have another 10 centimeters, right? So 10. So basically my windowsill is gonna be here, and you know the board is gonna be there, and blah blah blah. Everything should match perfectly. You can even drop this to 100, right? But like I said, you always check the drawing, right? So I'm just gonna leave it for now like this. Sorry, not 100. I thought 1 meter, so 100. Yes, there we go. So you know the windowsill is gonna be here somewhere, and it should perfectly match it. So there you go. That is our walls. I'm just gonna leave this dummy. So these are our walls, and the next thing, if you are having these kind of issues, shading issues, just apply smooth modifier and collapse it. Smooth, bump, and just right click, collapse all. There you go. All right. So these are our walls. These have perfect quads, as you can see. Everything is a quad, right? So for example, if you want to edit something or delete, you know, it's very easy to do. For example, let's just say I want to remove this window completely, right? So what I can do is I will select the polygon. I will literally select this, right? Deselect that and deselect that, and then press delete, press the vertex, bam, bam, select the vertex here. Sorry, select the vertices there and press Control Backspace. It will delete it, and then you would select this guy and press Weld, right? And then you can, if you want to, you can delete this line. Double click, bam, Control Backspace, right? So the editing, the cutting is just going to be a lot easier in the, you know, in the perfect quad, so you can connect the line. All the lines are going to be straight, right? Because in spline mode, if you spline everything, and let's just say all the tops will not have any quads, so nothing gonna be straight. So for example, you know, if I'm gonna move, I'm not gonna show you an example in a complicated way now, but for example, what I'm trying to say is, for example, you have a wall like this, that, you know, that, for example, right? Let's just say I'm gonna, oops, sorry, join that. All right, doesn't matter. I'm just gonna delete this line and weld these guys, right? Just gonna increase the threshold here, delete this and snap it there. So if I'm gonna use shell now, right, as you can see, yes, this is a quad, this is a quad, this is a quad, this is a quad. But when you go to, you know, editing it, yes, you can edit in splines, etc., but you know, you wanna remove as many modifiers as possible. Just try to keep it simple as possible. So now if I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna make a connect, you can see what is happening, right? Yeah, like, you know, the line is here a little bit closer to that wall, and this is a little bit further, because there's no, Max literally doesn't understand what the hell is going on, because we don't have a cut there and we don't have a cut there. It's not a perfect quad. It's you know, you would need to slice it or whatever, or in a way edit your spline, and you know, have a stack of modifiers. And keep in mind, if you're working in a team environment, etc., when, you know, moving a spline wall or whatever to another system unit, etc., when exchanging files, it can give you issues, especially with a lot of modifiers. Now, this technique, I wouldn't use this technique for massive offices, like if you have like 100 offices, doors, whatever, right? This would be, it will take long. Now, the geometry is going to be amazing, clean, and blah, 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 but it's just going to be long. If you have a massive office, yes, use a spline, because it's not really important. You're not, you know, creating beauty shots there. But, you know, if you have like 5-10 rooms, you're good to go with this technique, right? But if you have a massive office, use splines. And honestly, I remember I was working one time in one of the London companies, and you know, we were building skyscrapers, and literally floor on top of floor on top of floor, right? So we have like 60-50 floors. So what we actually did is we cleaned the CAD so well and connected all the vertices and splines. So when we imported into Max, we welded everything together and we extruded the walls from the CAD itself, because the CADs were quite good, I'm not gonna lie. So that is how we sped up that thing. But obviously there is a tool, there is approach, there is an option for every job, right? And every job can be different, right? But for these, like, you know, 5 rooms, 3 rooms, 6 rooms, interiors, you know, definitely try to practice poly modeling like this. It will become faster and faster. Is just, you know, you just create a plane, extrude it to 210, bomb, you cap it, let's go, that's it. So I think, yeah, it took a while to show this, but I didn't want to speed this up through. So I think we can end it here, and in the next lesson I'm gonna try to show you guys how to extract, how to spline a floor, how to create a skirting, and how to create a ceiling. All right, so see you then.